Habits that Move Mountains. Design Your Day, Dominate Your Life. Audiobook. Reading by Coleman Hudson. Published by A1 Audiobook. The soft glow of the screen illuminates Michael's face, the only light in his otherwise dim living room. It's Sunday evening, that familiar stretch of time where the weekend's freedom begins to fade, replaced by the encroaching shadow of Monday morning. He's been scrolling for what feels like hours, an endless stream of curated lives, vibrant adventures, and seemingly effortless successes. A sleek home office here, a triumphant marathon finish there, a group of friends laughing on a sun-drenched beach. Each image, while momentarily distracting, lands with a dull thud in his chest, a familiar pang of, is this all there is? He knows, objectively, that his life is fine. A decent job, a comfortable apartment, friends he sees now and then, but beneath the surface of fine, a persistent current of dissatisfaction flows. It's the nagging feeling that he's capable of more, that there's a bigger, more impactful version of himself waiting to emerge, a version he barely recognizes anymore. He closes the app with a sigh, the phone dropping to the cushion beside him. The dread of the impending work week settles in, heavy and unwelcome. Something needs to change, he thinks, not for the first time. But the what feels vague and overwhelming, and the how feels like staring up at a sheer, insurmountable mountain. That feeling, that sense of a giant, unmovable boulder blocking his path to a more fulfilling life, is one many of us know all too well. The problem defined. Why big goals feel impossible. If you've ever felt like Michael, you're far from alone. We all have mountains in our lives, those significant, often life-altering changes we dream of making. It could be transforming our health and fitness, finally launching that business idea, writing a book, cultivating deeper relationships, or achieving a level of financial freedom that feels out of reach. Yet despite our best intentions, these grand ambitions often remain just that, dreams. Why do these big goals feel so impossible to achieve? The sheer scale. The very idea of moving a mountain can be paralyzing. The distance between where we are and where we want to be looks so vast that taking the first step feels pointless. The trap of fleeting motivation. We get a burst of inspiration, perhaps after reading an article, watching a motivational video, or making a New Year's resolution. We dive in head first, only for that initial enthusiasm to wane, leaving us stranded halfway up a metaphorical hill, feeling defeated. The all-or-nothing fallacy. We tell ourselves we need to make massive, sweeping changes all at once. If we can't go to the gym for an hour every day, we don't go at all. If we can't dedicate 3 hours to our side hustle, we don't even open the laptop. This perfectionist mindset sets us up for failure before we even begin. The illusion of the grand overhaul. Popular culture often romanticizes dramatic transformations, leading us to believe that real change requires a painful, heroic, and unsustainable upheaval of our entire lives. But here's a truth that often gets overlooked. The real boulders blocking our path aren't usually external circumstances. More often, they are our current habits, those deeply ingrained, often invisible patterns of thought and behavior that dictate a huge portion of our daily lives. These are the routines, the automatic responses, the comfortable defaults that keep us stuck, even when we consciously desire something different. The promise, from pebbles to peaks. This book, Habits That Move Mountains, isn't about offering you quick fixes, miracle cures, or yet another list of resolutions destined to be forgotten by February. It's built on a revolutionary, yet refreshingly simple truth. Small, consistent habits, strategically chosen and mindfully implemented, are the surprisingly powerful tools that allow ordinary people to achieve extraordinary things, to literally move the mountains in their lives. Imagine for a moment that the mountain in front of you isn't an immovable monolith, but rather a colossal pile of individual pebbles. While lifting the entire mountain at once is impossible, moving one pebble, that's doable. Moving another, also doable. This book will show you how to identify your true mountains. You'll gain clarity on what truly matters to you, moving beyond vague wishes to define the specific peaks you want to conquer. Break them down to manageable pebbles. You'll learn the art of deconstricting overwhelming goals into small, actionable steps, the individual habits that, when compounded, create massive momentum. Build a sustainable system. Forget willpower-draining sprints. You'll discover how to create a system of habits that works with your human nature, not against it, making consistency feel less like a battle and more like a natural flow.
Unlock impossible goals. You will harness the astonishing power of incremental progress, allowing you to achieve long-term objectives that once seemed firmly out of reach, leading to profound and lasting change not just in what you do, but in who you become. This isn't about brute force, it's about smart strategy. It's about understanding the subtle mechanics of how habits are formed and how they can be intentionally reshaped to serve your highest aspirations. The Roadmap, your ascent to lasting change. Habits That Move Mountains is designed to be your practical, step-by-step guide on this transformative journey. Together, we will navigate the terrain of change, equipping you with the knowledge and tools you need at every stage of your ascent. We'll start by understanding the invisible architecture of your life, the fundamental science and psychology behind how habits work, why they're so powerful, and how the habit loop governs so much of your behavior. Next, you'll learn to identify your mountains by clarifying your core values and pinpointing the truly meaningful goals that will bring purpose and fulfillment to your life. We'll uncover the magic of the Keystone effect, showing you how to pinpoint and cultivate Keystone habits, those small changes that create a ripple effect of positive transformation across multiple areas. You'll master the art of the atomic start, learning how to make new habits so incredibly small and easy that you almost can't not do them, building momentum from day one. We will then explore how to design your habit-friendly universe, shaping your physical and social environment to silently support your new behaviors and make good choices the easiest choices. You'll learn to use the feedback loop effectively by tracking your progress, celebrating small wins, and, crucially, understanding how to get back on track quickly when you inevitably stumble. We'll dive into advanced habit strategies like habit stacking, temptation bundling, and pre-commitment to make your habits even more robust and resilient. A crucial part of the journey will be understanding the identity shift, how your habits shape who you believe you are, and how you can cultivate habits that align with the person you aspire to become. We'll cover habit maintenance, ensuring your mountains stay moved for a lifetime by learning to navigate plateaus, adapt to life's disruptions, and find enduring joy in your new routines. Finally, we'll look at your habit legacy, exploring how the positive changes you make can ripple outward, influencing those around you and contributing to a bigger impact. This isn't just a book of theories, it's a manual for action. Each chapter will provide clear explanations, relatable examples, and practical exercises to help you integrate these principles into your own life. Before we fully embark on this climb and start identifying your personal mountains, our very first step is to understand the fundamental landscape of habits themselves. In the next chapter, we'll pull back the curtain on the invisible forces that shape so much of what you do each day, laying the groundwork for you to become the architect of your own transformation.
Chapter 1. The Invisible Architecture of Your Life, Understanding Habits. Imagine standing in front of an impressive skyscraper. You see the gleaming facade, the intricate design, the sheer height that seems to pierce the clouds. What you don't see is the massive, complex foundation buried deep underground, the meticulously planned network of steel and concrete that supports the entire visible structure. Without that invisible foundation, the skyscraper would quickly crumble. Your life, in many ways, is like that skyscraper. Your achievements, your relationships, your health, your daily experiences, these are the visible parts. But beneath the surface, supporting or undermining it all, is an invisible architecture, your habits. These are the often unconscious routines and behaviors that dictate a surprisingly large portion of your day and ultimately shape your destiny. In this chapter, we're going to explore this hidden framework. We'll pull back the curtain on what habits truly are, how they form, why they wield such immense power over us, and why understanding them is the absolute first step to moving any mountain in your life. What really shapes your day and your destiny? We live in a culture that often glorifies the overnight success. We hear stories of entrepreneurs who seemingly burst onto the scene, athletes who achieve record-breaking feats as if by magic, or artists who become sensations out of nowhere. But if you dig a little deeper, you'll almost invariably find that these overnight successes are the culmination of years, sometimes decades, of consistent, often unglamorous daily habits. The writer who publishes a bestseller, they likely honed the habit of writing daily, even when uninspired. The musician who sells out arenas, they practiced their scales and rehearsed relentlessly. The lucky entrepreneur, they probably develop habits of relentless learning, networking, and disciplined execution. The truth is, a significant chunk of what you do each day isn't the result of active, conscious decision-making. Researchers from Duke University, for instance, found that more than 40% of the actions people performed each day weren't actual decisions, but habits. Think about it. Did you consciously decide how to brush your teeth this morning? Or did your hand just go through the motions? Did you deliberate over which route to take to work, if you commute? Or did your brain switch to autopilot? From the way you respond to emails to what you reach for when you're stressed, habits are the silent engines driving your behavior. So, how do these powerful automatic behaviors form? At the heart of every habit is a simple neurological loop called the habit loop. Understanding this loop is key to both breaking bad habits and building good ones. It consists of 3 core components, and more recently, a 4th has been emphasized for its driving force. The cue. This is the trigger that tells your brain to go into automatic mode and which habit to use. It could be a time of day, morning coffee time, a location, your couch after work, an emotional state, feeling bored or stressed, the presence of certain people, or the action that immediately preceded it. For Mark, the cue for his afternoon snack break is the clock hitting 3:00 p.m. and the feeling of mental fatigue. The craving. This isn't just about the reward itself, but the anticipation of the reward. The cue triggers a craving for the state change the reward will bring. Your brain isn't necessarily craving the cookie itself, but the sugar rush, the momentary distraction, or the comfort it provides. Mark craves the jolt of energy and mental break he associates with his sugary snack. The response. This is the actual habit you perform, the behavior or thought. It can be physical, eating the cookie, lighting a cigarette, scrolling social media, or mental, a pattern of negative self-talk. Mark's response is to walk to the vending machine and buy a candy bar. The reward. This is what satisfies the craving and reinforces the habit, teaching your brain that this particular loop is worth remembering and repeating in the future. The reward could be a physical sensation, the taste of the candy bar, the nicotine hit, an emotional benefit, a feeling of relief, entertainment, or the solving of a problem, temporary alleviation of boredom. Mark gets a temporary sugar high and a brief distraction, the reward. Every time this loop is completed, the connection between the cue, craving, response, and reward strengthens. Eventually, the behavior becomes so ingrained that it feels automatic, requiring little to no conscious thought. Good versus bad habits. Not all habits are created equal.
Habits themselves are neutral. It's their consequences that define them as good or bad in the context of your goals. The same habit loop can build routines that propel you forward or keep you stuck in cycles that undermine your well-being and aspirations. Bad habits. These often offer an immediate, though perhaps superficial, reward. Think of scrolling social media when you have a deadline. Instant distraction. Eating junk food when stressed. Momentary comfort. Or hitting the snooze button. A few extra minutes of perceived rest. The problem is, these immediate payoffs frequently lead to long-term pain. Missed deadlines, poor health, rushed and stressful mornings.
They're like taking out a high-interest loan on your future happiness. Good habits. These often involve some initial effort or a delayed gratification. Waking up 15 minutes earlier for quiet reflection or to plan your day might feel like a sacrifice in the moment. Choosing a healthy salad over a burger requires a bit more forethought. Going for a run when you're tired demands pushing past initial resistance. However, the long-term benefits of these habits compound powerfully. Increased focus, better health, reduced stress, a greater sense of accomplishment. They are like investing small, regular amounts into a high-return account for your future self. Consider the simple daily choice around the alarm clock. The habit of hitting the snooze button. Cue, alarm clock rings. Craving. Initially, perhaps just to get it over with, but eventually, desire for a calm, centered start to the day. Response. Get out of bed, sit quietly, meditate, or journal. Reward. Initially, maybe just the satisfaction of doing it, but eventually a sense of peace, clarity, reduced stress, feeling prepared for the day. Long-term consequence? Improved mental well-being, increased productivity, a greater positive outlook. Understanding this distinction is vital. It's not about judging yourself for having bad habits. We all do. It's about recognizing the trade-offs and empowering yourself to consciously choose habits that align with the future you want to create. Why willpower isn't enough and what is. How many times have you decided to make a change relying purely on your willpower to see it through? I'll just force myself to go to the gym every day. I'll resist all sugary snacks. While admirable, this approach often leads to burnout and failure. The problem is that willpower is a finite resource. Think of it like a muscle. It can get fatigued with overuse. If you spend all day resisting temptations at work, by the evening, your willpower reserves might be depleted, making it much harder to stick to your healthy dinner plan or evening study session. Relying solely on willpower to build new habits or break old ones is like trying to hold a beach ball underwater. Eventually, you'll get tired and it will pop back up. This is where habits truly shine. Habits automate behavior, significantly reducing the need for willpower. Once a behavior becomes a habit, it transitions from the conscious, effortful part of your brain, the prefrontal cortex, to the more primitive, automatic part, the basal ganglia. This is your brain's clever way of conserving energy. It loves efficiency.
When it recognizes a pattern that works, cue, craving, response, reward, it automates it so you don't have to spend precious mental energy thinking about it every time. This is the path of least resistance. Your brain naturally wants to follow well-worn neural pathways because it's easier. Therefore, the secret to lasting change isn't about having superhuman willpower, it's about strategically building the right habits so that desirable behaviors become your brain's new path of least resistance. It's about making good choices easy and automatic. The 21-day myth and other misconceptions. You've probably heard the popular notion that it takes 21 days to form a new habit. While it's a catchy number, it's unfortunately a widely spread misconception, an oversimplification of research by Dr. Maxwell Maltz, a plastic surgeon in the 1950s, who observed it took at least 21 days for his patients to get used to their new faces. The reality, supported by more recent studies like one from University College London, is that habit formation time varies greatly. On average, it might take anywhere from 18 days to a whopping 254 days for a new behavior to become automatic. The time frame depends on several factors: the complexity of the habit, the individual, their environment, and how consistent they are. Trying to build a habit of drinking a glass of water after breakfast will likely take less time than establishing a habit of going to the gym for an hour 5 times a week. The takeaway here isn't to get discouraged by potentially longer timelines, but to set realistic expectations. Don't beat yourself up if a new habit isn't second nature after 3 weeks. The most crucial ingredient isn't speed, it's consistency. Showing up and performing the behavior even imperfectly, day after day, is what carves those new neural pathways.
Focus on the process, not a magical number of days. Understanding these foundational truths about habits, their pervasiveness, their structure, their power, and the realities of their formation is like being handed the architect's blueprints for your own life. You can now begin to see how your current structure was built and, more importantly, how you can redesign it to support the mountains you aspire to move. Chapter 1 Summary. This chapter revealed that habits, often operating beneath our conscious awareness, form the invisible architecture of our lives, influencing over 40% of our daily actions. We learned that overnight successes are typically built on years of consistent habits. The core mechanism behind habit formation is the habit loop. A cue triggers a craving, leading to a response, which delivers a reward, reinforcing the loop. We distinguish between bad habits, which offer immediate gratification but long-term costs, and good habits, which may require initial effort but yield significant long-term benefits. Crucially, we understood that relying on willpower alone is a flawed strategy because it's a finite resource. Habits, by automating behavior, conserve this energy. Finally, we debunked the 21-day myth, emphasizing that consistency over speed is paramount in habit formation, with timelines varying greatly. The key takeaway is that understanding how habits work is the fundamental first step to reshaping them and building a life by design, not default.
Chapter 2. Identifying your mountains. What do you truly want to move? In the last chapter, we uncovered the hidden world of habits, the invisible architecture that shapes so much of our daily existence. We saw how these automatic behaviors, whether beneficial or detrimental, are built through a consistent loop of cue, craving, response, and reward. Now that you understand the how of habits, it's time to turn our attention to the what. What significant changes do you want these powerful tools to help you achieve? What are the mountains standing between you and the life you genuinely desire? Simply deciding to be better or improve my life is like setting out on a journey with no destination in mind. You might wander aimlessly, expend a lot of energy, and end up feeling more lost than when you started. To truly harness the power of habits, you need clarity. You need to define your peaks. Beyond vague wishes, defining your peaks. Many of us walk around with a collection of vague wishes. I want to be healthier. I wish I were more successful. I should be happier. While these sentiments are understandable, they lack the specificity needed to drive meaningful action. They're like fuzzy, out-of-focus photographs. You can make out a general shape, but the details are lost. Consider Jessica. She's a bright, capable marketing professional who has harbored a lifelong dream. I want to write a book. It's a noble aspiration, one she's mentioned to friends and family for years. But when you ask Jessica what kind of book, who her ideal reader is, what message she wants to convey, or even a rough timeline, her answers become hesitant and unclear. Her mountain is a nebulous cloud rather than a distinct summit. As a result, the daily habits required to write a book, outlining, dedicated writing time, research, never quite materialize. Her grand wish remains just that, a wish, because it lacks a clear, compelling definition. The problem with vague goals is twofold. They don't inspire concrete action. If you don't know exactly what you're aiming for, how can you identify the specific steps, habits, needed to get there? Being healthier could mean anything, from eating more vegetables to running a marathon to getting more sleep. They make it impossible to measure progress. How do you know if you're more successful if you haven't defined what success looks like for you? Without clear markers, it's easy to feel like you're not making headway, leading to discouragement. To move a mountain, you first need to be able to see it clearly, to map its contours, and to understand why scaling that particular peak is important to you. This chapter is about bringing your mountains into sharp focus. Aligning with your core values, the why behind the what. Before you even start listing potential mountains, it's crucial to connect with your why. Why do you want to achieve a particular goal?
What deep-seated need or desire will it fulfill? Goals that are not anchored to your core values are like trees with shallow roots. They're easily toppled by the first strong wind of difficulty or distraction. Your core values are the fundamental beliefs that guide your choices and behaviors. They represent what is most important to you at your deepest level. When your goals and the habits you build to achieve them are in harmony with these values, you tap into a powerful source of intrinsic motivation, a drive that comes from within, rather than relying on external rewards or pressures. Let's do a quick exercise to help you identify your core values. Don't overthink it. Go with your gut feeling. Exercise: uncovering your core values. Brainstorm. On a piece of paper or in a notebook, quickly jot down words or short phrases that represent things that are deeply important to you. Think about what makes you feel alive, what principles you'd stand up for, what qualities you admire in others, and what you want your life to represent. Examples include adventure, authenticity, connection, creativity, family, freedom, growth, health, honesty, impact, justice, kindness, learning, order, peace, security, spirituality, and wisdom. Group and refine. Look at your list. Are there any words that are similar or could be grouped together? Try to narrow down your list to your top 5 to 7 core values. These should feel like the absolute essence of what matters most to you. Prioritize if you can. Try to rank your top 3 to 5 core values in order of importance to you right now. Once you have your list of core values, hold on to it. As you start to identify potential mountains, ask yourself, does achieving this goal align with my core values? Will it help me live more in accordance with what I truly believe in?
If Jessica's core values include creativity, impact, and growth, then her goal of writing a book that shares her unique perspective and helps others impact, utilizes her imaginative talents, creativity, and pushes her beyond her comfort zone, growth, becomes deeply resonant. This alignment provides a powerful undercurrent of motivation that can sustain her through the inevitable challenges of the writing process. Conversely, if she felt pressured to write a certain type of book solely for financial gain, and financial gain wasn't a top-tier core value for her compared to authenticity, she'd likely struggle with motivation. Mountain to milestones, breaking it down. Okay, you've started to think about what truly matters, your values, and perhaps a big, inspiring goal is beginning to take shape. But even a clearly defined mountain can feel overwhelming. Staring up at a 10,000-foot peak can make the first step seem insignificant. This is where the art of deconstruction comes in. You don't climb Mount Everest in a single leap. You break the journey down into a series of base camps, smaller ascents, and manageable daily treks. Similarly, your mountain needs to be broken down into smaller, achievable hills or milestones. These milestones then become the targets for your habit-building efforts. Let's go back to Jessica and her goal. Write a 60,000-word nonfiction book that helps young professionals navigate early career challenges by December 31st of next year. This is much clearer. Now she can break this mountain down. Mountain. Write a 60,000-word nonfiction book on navigating early career challenges by date. Major milestones. Hills. Develop a detailed book proposal by end of this month. Complete in-depth research and interviews by end of month 3. Create a comprehensive chapter-by-chapter outline by end of month 4. Write the first draft, approximately 5,000 words per week for 12 weeks, equals months 5 to 7. Self-edit and revise the first draft, months 8 to 9. Get feedback from beta readers, month 10. Final revisions and polish, month 11. Explore publishing options, month 12. Daily or weekly actions, pebbles, these become the habits. Research for 30 minutes daily. Write 750 words daily, 5 days a week. Dedicate 2 hours on Saturdays for outlining and structuring. Reach out to one potential interviewee per week. See how a daunting mountain transforms into a series of achievable steps.
Each milestone achieved provides a sense of accomplishment and fuels motivation for the next. The pebbles, the daily or weekly actions, are where your habit-building strategies will come into play. Suddenly, write a book doesn't seem so impossible when your focus is on write 750 words today. Techniques for deconstruction. Work backward. Start with your ultimate goal and ask, what needs to happen right before that? Keep asking this question until you arrive at small, immediate actions. Mind mapping. Put your main goal in the center of a page and branch out with major components, then subcomponents until you get to actionable tasks. Chunking. Group related tasks into larger chunks or phases. The key is to break your big goal down into pieces small enough that you can clearly see what needs to be done next, and small enough that you can build specific habits around them. Visualizing success the right way. Once you have a clearly defined mountain and a roadmap of milestones, visualization can be a powerful tool. But we're not just talking about idly daydreaming about the triumphant moment you reach the summit. While visualizing the outcome can be motivating, what's often more effective is process visualization. Process visualization involves mentally rehearsing the steps, the habits you'll take to achieve your goal. Imagine yourself successfully performing the small daily actions. See yourself overcoming potential obstacles. Feel the satisfaction of completing each step along the way. For Jessica, this might mean visualizing herself sitting down at her desk each morning, opening her laptop, and easily typing her 750 words, feeling focused and productive. She might visualize herself confidently conducting an interview or methodically organizing her research notes. The psychological benefits of this type of visualization are numerous. It builds familiarity and reduces anxiety. By mentally walking through the process, it feels less daunting when you actually do it. It reinforces neural pathways. You're essentially practicing in your mind, making the actual execution smoother. It primes you for action. It helps bridge the gap between intention and behavior. It can help you anticipate challenges. As you visualize the process, you might identify potential roadblocks and can plan for them, something we'll cover more later.
So, take some time to not only see yourself standing on your mountain peak, but also to vividly imagine the journey of climbing it, one consistent, well-executed step habit at a time. Defining your mountains clearly, ensuring they resonate with your deepest values, breaking them down into manageable milestones, and visualizing the process of ascent. These are the essential preparations for the climb ahead. With this clarity, you're no longer staring at an overwhelming, undefined mass. You're looking at a specific challenge with a discernible path forward, ready to identify the first few pebbles you need to move. Chapter 2 Summary. This chapter guided you to look beyond vague wishes and define the specific mountains you genuinely want to move in your life, emphasizing that clear goals are essential for inspiring action and measuring progress. We highlighted the critical importance of aligning these ambitious goals with your core values, as this connection provides deep intrinsic motivation, the why that fuels the what. You learned practical techniques for deconstructing overwhelming mountains into smaller, manageable milestones, and even smaller daily or weekly pebbles, making the path forward less daunting and more actionable. Finally, we explored the power of process visualization, mentally rehearsing the steps and habits needed to build familiarity, reduce anxiety, and prime you for success. By clarifying your why and what and visualizing the process, you've laid the critical groundwork for building targeted, mountain-moving habits.
Chapter 3. The Keystone Effect. Small hinges that swing big doors. You've now identified your mountain, that significant, value-aligned goal you're aiming for, and you've broken it down into more manageable milestones. The path is becoming clearer. But where exactly do you start placing your effort when it comes to building habits? Do you try to tackle all the pebbles at once? That can quickly lead back to overwhelm. This is where a powerful concept comes into play: Keystone habits. Imagine an old, massive stone archway. At the very top, in the center, is a single stone,
The Keystone. It might not be the largest stone, but it's the one that locks all the other stones into place, giving the arch its strength and stability. Remove it, and the entire structure can collapse. Similarly, in the realm of personal change, keystone habits are small, seemingly modest behaviors that, when consistently practiced, can unlock a cascade of other positive changes and shift your entire system for the better. They are the small hinges that swing big doors. Introducing Keystone Habits, the 1% changes with 100% impact. Coined by Charles Duhigg in his best-selling book The Power of Habit, Keystone habits are specific routines that spark a chain reaction, helping other good habits to flourish almost organically. They create a sort of small win momentum that permeates other areas of your life, often in unexpected ways. They don't just change one behavior. They can shift your mindset, improve your self-efficacy, and make it easier to adopt other positive routines. Think of them as catalysts. They don't necessarily require a monumental effort in themselves, but their effects are disproportionately large. Here are a few classic examples of keystone habits and their potential ripple effects. Regular exercise. This is perhaps the most well-documented keystone habit. People who start exercising regularly often find themselves, without consciously trying, eating healthier. They tend to sleep better. Their stress levels decrease. They might become more productive at work because they have more energy and focus. They might even find themselves being more patient with their families. The act of exercising itself is one habit, but it triggers a cascade of improvements. Making your bed every morning. It sounds almost trivial, doesn't it? But for many, this simple act, taking less than 2 minutes, can set a positive tone for the entire day. It's an immediate accomplishment, a small act of order and discipline. This tiny win can create a subtle sense of capability that might encourage you to tackle other tasks, keep your room tidier, or approach your day with a more organized mindset. As Admiral William H. McRaven famously said, "If you want to change the world, start off by making your bed." Tracking your expenses. The act of simply writing down what you spend, without even trying to budget or cut back initially, is a keystone habit for financial well-being. This increased awareness often naturally leads to more conscious spending decisions, a desire to save, and a better understanding of one's financial situation, paving the way for more complex financial habits like investing or debt reduction. Daily family dinners without screens. For families, this can be a keystone habit that improves communication, strengthens bonds, and can even correlate with children performing better academically and having fewer behavioral issues. The simple act of sharing a meal and conversation creates a positive ripple effect. A consistent morning routine. This could involve several small habits like meditation, journaling, or light stretching, but the routine itself acts as a keystone, setting a proactive and intentional tone for the day, often leading to increased productivity and reduced reactivity. The power of keystone habits lies in their ability to create structures that help other habits flourish. They often instill a sense of self-control, agency, and identity that makes further positive changes feel more achievable and natural. Now, the exciting part. How do you identify the keystone habits that will help you move your specific mountains? There's no one-size-fits-all list, but here are some guiding principles. Look for habits that offer small wins and build momentum. Keystone habits often provide a sense of victory, however small. This success creates a positive feedback loop that makes you feel capable and motivated to tackle more. Ask yourself, what small action, if I did it consistently, would give me a feeling of progress or accomplishment related to my mountain? Consider habits that increase self-awareness or self-control. Many keystone habits work because they force you to pay more attention to your behaviors, or they strengthen your self-regulation muscle. Food journaling, meditation, and expense tracking are good examples.
Ask yourself a question. Is there a habit that would make me more conscious of my current patterns or help me practice discipline in a small way? Relate them back to your mountains from Chapter 2. While keystone habits have broad effects, you want to choose one that has at least some relevance to the big goal you're working towards. Let's consider David. His mountain is significantly improve my cardiovascular health and lose 30 pounds. While making his bed is a good habit, a more directly relevant potential keystone habit for him might be a daily 20-minute walk. Why could this be a keystone habit for David? Small win, It's achievable. He might feel a sense of accomplishment after each walk. Increased awareness. He might start noticing how his body feels, his breathing, his energy levels. This could make him more mindful of other health choices. Ripple effects. Walking might lead him to drink more water. It might reduce stress, leading to less stress eating. The fresh air and movement could improve his sleep. He might feel more energized and thus more inclined to prepare a healthy meal instead of opting for takeout. Think about choke points or bottlenecks. Is there one area that, if improved, would unlock progress in many others? For someone struggling with procrastination on a big project, a keystone habit might be work on the project for just 15 minutes first thing in the morning before checking email. This tackles the initial inertia, which is often the biggest bottleneck. Experiment and observe. Sometimes, identifying a keystone habit is a process of trial and error. You might pick a habit, implement it consistently for a few weeks, and observe its effects. Does it seem to be making other positive changes easier? If not, you can always adjust and try a different one. The power of one. Don't try to build Rome or a dozen habits in a day. This is a critical point. When people discover the idea of keystone habits, they sometimes get excited and try to implement several at once. This is usually a recipe for dilution of focus and eventual burnout. Remember our discussion about willpower being finite? Trying to force too many new behaviors simultaneously depletes that resource rapidly. The true magic of keystone habits often lies in their singularity, at least initially. Focus on firmly establishing one keystone habit before attempting to add another. Give it your full attention. Nurture it. Make it so ingrained that it becomes almost automatic. Once that first keystone is solidly in place, it will create the internal structure and momentum that make adopting subsequent habits much easier. You're building a foundation of success, one strong stone at a time. Think of it like learning to juggle. You don't start with 5 balls. You start with 1, get comfortable with the motion, then add a second, and so on. Case studies in keystone power. Brief, inspiring examples. The executive and meditation. Linda, a busy CEO, felt constantly stressed and reactive. Her mountain was to lead her team more effectively and find better work-life balance. She adopted a single keystone habit, meditating for 10 minutes every morning before looking at her phone. Within weeks, she reported feeling calmer, making more thoughtful decisions, and being a better listener in meetings. This calm then rippled into her team's culture, and she found herself having more energy for her family in the evenings. The 10 minutes of meditation swung a very big door. The student and a tidy workspace. Robert, a college student struggling with focus and grades, decided his keystone habit would be to clear his desk and organize his study materials for 15 minutes each evening before bed. This small act of creating an orderly environment for the next day reduced his morning procrastination, made it easier to start studying, and subtly improved his overall sense of control and preparedness, leading to better grades. The couple and a weekly check-in. Maria and Tom felt their relationship drifting due to busy schedules. Their mountain was to reconnect more deeply. They implemented a keystone habit, a 30-minute State of the Union check-in every Sunday evening where they discussed their week, their feelings, and their upcoming plans with no distractions. This dedicated time for communication led to greater understanding, fewer misunderstandings, and a renewed sense of partnership. These examples illustrate that the power of a keystone habit isn't necessarily in its grandeur, but in its strategic impact. It's about finding that one small change that creates the most leverage. By focusing on a single, well-chosen keystone habit, you're not just changing a behavior, you're often initiating a shift in your self-perception and capabilities. You start to see yourself as someone who can make positive changes, and that belief is incredibly potent.
This sets the stage beautifully for our next chapter, where we'll discuss how to make starting these habits almost ridiculously easy. Chapter 3, Summary. This chapter explored the transformative concept of keystone habits, small, foundational behaviors that act like hinges, swinging open big doors to widespread positive change. We learned that these habits, like regular exercise, making your bed, or tracking expenses, can trigger a cascade of other beneficial routines and shifts in mindset, often without direct effort on those secondary habits. You discovered strategies for identifying potential keystone habits relevant to your personal mountains, focusing on those that offer small wins, increase self-awareness, or address critical bottlenecks. A crucial takeaway was the power of one, the importance of focusing on establishing a single keystone habit firmly before attempting others, to build a solid foundation of success. Through inspiring examples, we saw how strategically chosen keystone habits can have a disproportionately large impact, setting the stage for profound personal growth.
Chapter 4. The Art of the Atomic Start. Making it too easy to fail at failing. You've identified your mountain, broken it down, and even pinpointed a potential keystone habit that could create powerful ripple effects. You're feeling motivated, perhaps even excited. But then comes the moment of truth, actually starting. This is where many well-intentioned plans falter. The thought of that 30-minute workout, that hour of writing, or even that 10-minute meditation can sometimes feel like too much of a hurdle, especially on days when your energy is low or your schedule is packed. The secret to overcoming this initial resistance isn't to muster more willpower or to wait for the perfect moment of inspiration. Instead, it's to make the act of starting so incredibly small, so laughably easy, that it's harder to not do it than to do it. Welcome to the Art of the Atomic Start. We're going to learn how to make your new habit so tiny, it's virtually impossible to fail at failing to do it. The 2-minute rule and beyond. Productivity expert James Clear, in his groundbreaking book, Atomic Habits, a must-read we'll likely reference again, introduced a brilliantly simple yet profoundly effective strategy called the 2-minute rule. The rule states, when you start a new habit, it should take less than 2 minutes to do. Think about almost any goal or habit you want to build. You can almost always scale it down to a 2-minute version. Read before bed each night becomes read 1 page. Do 30 minutes of yoga becomes take out my yoga mat. Study for class becomes open my notes. Run 3 miles becomes put on my running shoes. Fold the laundry becomes fold 1 pair of socks. Why is this so powerful? It's not about the 2 minutes of activity itself leading to dramatic, immediate results. It's about something much more fundamental. Mastering the art of showing up. The real goal of the 2-minute rule isn't to achieve the full habit right away, it's to make the starting of the habit the easiest part of your day. The psychology behind this is sound. It circumvents activation energy. Every task, big or small, has an activation energy, the initial effort required to get started. For big tasks, this can be significant. By shrinking the task to 2 minutes, you drastically lower this barrier. It builds consistency. The most important thing in the early stages of habit formation is not intensity or duration, but consistency. Doing a tiny version of your habit every day is far more effective for long-term wiring than doing a heroic version sporadically. It taps into the physics of motion. An object at rest tends to stay at rest. An object in motion tends to stay in motion. Often just starting, even for 2 minutes, is enough to get you over the hump. You might find that after reading 1 page, you feel like reading a few more. After putting on your running shoes, you might as well step out the door. The 2-minute rule is about getting the ball rolling. It reinforces your identity, as we'll discuss more in Chapter 8. Each time you perform even the 2-minute version, you're casting a vote for being the type of person who does that habit. Shrinking the pebble. How small is small enough? Now, what if even 2 minutes feels like too much on a particularly challenging day? The beauty of this approach is its flexibility. If 2 minutes is still a barrier, make it 1 minute, or 30 seconds, or even 5 seconds. The point isn't the specific time, it's the principle of making it too easy to say no. Let's consider Maria, whom we met earlier. She wants to establish a daily meditation practice of 20 minutes to help manage her stress. Her mountain is achieve a greater sense of calm and presence. 20 minutes feels daunting, especially on busy mornings. She tries the 2-minute rule. Meditate for 2 minutes. Some days this works, but on other days even that feels like a stretch. So she shrinks it further. Sit in silence with my eyes closed for 60 seconds. If that still feels like too much pressure, she could even go to sit on my meditation cushion. That's it, the act of just getting into position. The goal here isn't to stay at this ridiculously small level forever. It's to ensure that you always perform the initial part of the ritual, no matter what. You want to make it so easy that you can do it even on your worst day, when you're tired, unmotivated, and completely overwhelmed, because those are the days when maintaining consistency matters most. Missing one day is an anomaly. Missing 2 can be the start of the habit unraveling. The question to ask yourself is, what's a version of this habit that I can do even when I have absolutely no motivation or energy? That's your true atomic start. Building the show up muscle. Think of the initial phase of habit formation as building your show-up muscle. You're not trying to lift the heaviest weight in the gym on day 1. You're just focused on consistently getting yourself to the gym. Consistency trumps intensity, especially in the beginning. 5 minutes of focused work done daily will build a stronger habit than 2 hours of frantic work done once a week, which then leads to burnout and avoidance. Focus on the act of starting, not the quality or duration of the performance. In these early days, don't judge yourself on how well you do the habit or for how long. The only thing that matters is that you did it in its tiniest form. Celebrate the small win of just starting. Acknowledge yourself for taking out the yoga mat, for putting on the running shoes, for opening the book. This positive reinforcement, however small, helps solidify the behavior. We'll talk more about rewards in Chapter 6. By consistently showing up, even for an atomic amount of time, you are carving new neural pathways. You are teaching your brain that this new behavior is part of your routine. You are reducing the friction associated with the habit. Gradual progression from anthill to foothill. The 2-minute rule, or its even smaller cousins, is your gateway, not your final destination. Once the tiny version of your habit starts to feel completely automatic, effortless, and like a non-negotiable part of your day, once you're consistently showing up without resistance, then you can begin to slowly and gradually increase the duration or intensity. This is the concept of habit stamina. Here's how this progression might look for Maria and her meditation habit. Atomic start. Sit on my meditation cushion for 1 to 2 weeks until it's automatic. Level 1. Sit in silence with eyes closed for 1 minute, for 1 to 2 weeks until it's automatic. Level 2. Meditate for 2 minutes, for 1 to 2 weeks until it's automatic. Level 3. Meditate for 5 minutes. Level 4. Meditate for 10 minutes, and so on, gradually working her way up to her target of 20 minutes. The key here is gradual. Don't try to jump from 2 minutes to 20 minutes overnight. Each small increase should still feel manageable. If you increase the duration and find yourself resisting or skipping days, scale it back down again to a level where you can be consistent. Listen to your own feedback. The goal is sustainable progress, not rapid advancement followed by a crash. Think of it like building a tiny anthill. You add 1 grain of sand at a time, then another. Over time, that anthill can grow into a small mound, then a foothill, and eventually contribute to the landscape of your mountain. By mastering the art of the atomic start, you remove the biggest obstacle to habit formation, the friction of getting started. You make it easy to build momentum, cultivate consistency, and lay the groundwork for more substantial engagement with your new habits over time. You're learning to work with your brain's natural inclination towards ease rather than fighting against it. This simple shift in approach can be the difference between a habit that sticks and one that fades away. Chapter 4 Summary.
This chapter introduced the crucial strategy of the atomic start, making your new habit too easy not to do, to overcome the initial friction of beginning. We highlighted James Clear's 2-minute rule, which advocates scaling down any new habit until it takes less than 2 minutes, focusing on mastering the art of showing up rather than immediate, large-scale results. We emphasized that if 2 minutes feels like too much, the habit should be shrunk even further, to the point where it's virtually impossible to say no, even on your worst day. The core idea is to build the show-up muscle, prioritizing consistency over intensity in the early stages. Once this tiny habit becomes automatic, you can then focus on gradual progression, slowly increasing duration or intensity, thereby building habit stamina. This approach makes habit adoption feel less like a struggle and more like a natural, sustainable process.
Chapter 5. Designing Your Habit-Friendly Universe. Environment as a Silent Partner. So far, we've explored the inner workings of habits, identified the mountains you want to move, pinpointed powerful keystone habits, and learned the art of making your new habits incredibly easy to start. These are crucial internal strategies. But there's another incredibly influential factor in habit formation, one that often operates silently in the background, shaping our choices more than we realize: our environment. Think of your environment, your physical surroundings, the people you interact with, even your digital spaces, as a silent partner in your habit journey. It can either be a powerful ally, nudging you towards your desired behaviors, or a settled saboteur, constantly tempting you off course. In this chapter, we're going to learn how to consciously design your environment to make your good habits the easy, obvious, and even attractive choice, while making undesirable habits difficult and unappealing. Your environment, the invisible hand shaping your choices. You might believe that your behaviors are primarily driven by your motivation and willpower. While those play a role, research consistently shows that our surroundings have a profound and often unconscious influence on what we do. We are more products of our environment than we like to admit. This is the concept of choice architecture, the idea that the way choices are presented to us significantly impact the decisions we make. Consider these simple examples. If there's a bowl of fruit on your kitchen counter, and a box of cookies hidden in the back of a high cupboard, which are you more likely to reach for as a quick snack? If your gym clothes are laid out by your bed the night before, are you more likely to work out in the morning than if they're buried in a drawer? If your phone buzzes with notifications every few minutes, how likely are you to stay focused on a demanding task? In each case, subtle environmental cues steer your behavior. The good news is that you can become the architect of your own environment, intentionally designing it to support the habits you want to cultivate. Making good habits obvious and attractive. The first principle of environmental design for good habits is to make the cues for those habits as obvious and visible as possible. Remember the habit loop: cue, craving, response, reward. If the cue is invisible, the loop often doesn't even start. Here are some ways to make your desired habits more obvious. Visual cues. Want to drink more water? Keep a stylish water bottle on your desk or in a prominent place in every room you frequent. Andrew keeps one in his car cup holder, one on his work desk, and one on his nightstand. Want to read more? Leave a book on your pillow or your coffee table instead of the TV remote. Planning to go for a run in the morning? Lay out your running shoes, shorts, and shirt the night before where you can't miss them. Trying to practice an instrument? Leave it out on its stand in a visible spot rather than packed away in its case. Location association. Designate specific locations for specific habits. Your home office is for work, not for scrolling social media. Your dining table is for eating meals, not for watching TV. Your bed is for sleep and intimacy, not for working on your laptop. This helps your brain associate certain environments with certain behaviors, making the habit more automatic in that context. Time-based cues. Habit stacking, revisited, while not strictly environmental in the physical sense, linking a new habit to an existing one, as discussed in Chapter 7, but relevant here too for cueing, makes the new habit's cue very clear. After I pour my morning coffee, existing habit or cue,
I will meditate for 2 minutes. New habit. Beyond making them obvious, you also want to make good habits attractive. How can you make the prospect of doing the habit more appealing? Temptation bundling. Preview for Chapter 7. Pair an action you want to do with an action you need to do. For example, I will only listen to my favorite podcast, want, while I'm on my daily walk, need. Make the environment itself appealing. If you want to spend more time reading, create a cozy reading nook with good lighting and a comfortable chair. If you want to cook more healthy meals, make your kitchen a pleasant and organized space to be in. Focus on the immediate benefit. While the long-term rewards are great, sometimes focusing on an immediate positive feeling can make a habit more attractive. Instead of, I have to exercise, think, I get to move my body and feel energized. Making bad habits invisible and unattractive, or impossible. Just as you can design your environment to promote good habits, you can also engineer it to discourage bad ones. The principle here is inversion. Make the cues for bad habits invisible or hard to access, and make the behavior itself unattractive or difficult. Remove the cues. Trying to eat less junk food? Don't buy it in the first place. If it's not in your house, you can't easily eat it. Brenda stopped buying ice cream because she knew if it was in the freezer, she'd eat it late at night. Want to watch less TV? Put the remote in a drawer in another room. The extra effort to retrieve it might be enough to make you reconsider. Trying to break a nail-biting habit? Some people find wearing gloves or bad-tasting nail polish effective because it changes the sensory cue or makes the response unpleasant. Increase friction. Make the undesired behavior more difficult to perform. If you find yourself mindlessly scrolling social media on your phone, delete the apps from your home screen, or use an app to block them during certain hours. The extra steps to access them may deter impulsive use. If you want to spend less money on impulse online purchases, remove your saved credit card information from websites. Having to manually enter it each time adds friction. Create if-then barriers. If I feel like having a sugary snack, then I will first drink a large glass of water and wait 10 minutes. Often the craving passes or lessens. The more friction you can put between yourself and a bad habit, the less likely you are to perform it. You're essentially making the path of least resistance lead away from the behavior you want to avoid. The people factor, your social environment. Your environment isn't just physical, it's also social. The people you spend time with, your family, friends, colleagues, and community, significantly influence your habits, often more than you think. This is due to a powerful human tendency. We want to fit in and be accepted by our tribe. Normalization. We tend to adopt the habits that are considered normal within our social circles. If your friends all smoke, you're more likely to smoke. If your colleagues all work late, you might feel pressured to do the same. Conversely, if your running club buddies are all training for a 10K, you're more likely to stick with your training.
Seek supportive communities. Join groups or find friends who embody the habits you want to cultivate. If you want to become a regular runner, join a running club. If you want to learn a new skill, take a class. The shared enthusiasm and accountability can be incredibly motivating. Communicate your goals. Let supportive friends and family know what habits you're trying to build. They can offer encouragement and understanding. Kevin, who wanted to reduce his family's evening screen time to foster more connection, initiated a no phones at the dinner table rule. He explained why it was important to him and his partner, and they agreed to support each other in this new family habit. Limit exposure if necessary. If certain social situations consistently trigger bad habits you're trying to break, it might be necessary to limit your exposure to those environments, or find ways to navigate them differently. This isn't about cutting people off, but about being strategic in protecting your new habits. Your social environment can be one of your greatest assets or biggest liabilities in habit change. Choose your company wisely and proactively seek out those who lift you up and support your growth. Digital detox and design. Taming your digital environment.
In our modern world, our digital environment plays an enormous role. Smartphones, computers, and social media are designed to be engaging, sometimes to the point of addiction. If not managed, they can easily derail your attempts to build positive habits. Turn off non-essential notifications. Every buzz, beep, or pop-up is a potential distraction, a cue pulling your attention away from what you intend to do. Be ruthless in curating your notifications. Curate your feeds. Unfollow accounts on social media that make you feel inadequate, anxious, or tempted towards unhealthy behaviors. Follow accounts that inspire, educate, or support your goals. Use website blockers and app timers. Tools like Freedom, Cold Turkey, or built-in screen time features can help you limit access to distracting websites and apps during focused work periods or specific times of day. Design your digital workspace. Organize your computer desktop for efficiency. Use specific apps for specific tasks. Close unnecessary tabs. Create a digital environment that promotes focus, not distraction. Tech-free zones or times. Designate certain times, e.g. the first hour after waking, during meals, or certain zones, e.g. the bedroom, as tech-free, to give your brain a break and encourage other behaviors. By taking conscious control of your physical, social, and digital environments, you stop being a passive recipient of their influences and instead become an active shaper of them. You create a universe that doesn't just allow for good habits, but actively encourages and supports them, making your journey to moving mountains smoother and more successful. Chapter 5. Summary. This chapter delved into the profound and often underestimated impact of our environment, physical, social, and digital, on our ability to form and maintain habits. We learned that our environment acts as a silent partner, constantly nudging us towards certain behaviors. The key strategy is to become an intentional choice architect of your own life. To foster good habits, you should make their cues obvious and attractive. For example, placing workout clothes in sight, creating appealing workspaces. Conversely, to break bad habits, you should make their cues invisible and the behaviors themselves unattractive or difficult. For example, removing junk food from the house, adding friction to accessing distracting apps. By strategically shaping your universe, you create an ecosystem where your desired habits are more likely to thrive.
Chapter 6. The Feedback Loop. Tracking, Celebrating, and Adjusting Course. You've done an incredible amount of groundwork. You've identified your mountain, chosen a keystone habit, learned to start atomically small, and even begun to design an environment that supports your new behavior. But how do you know if you're actually making progress? How do you stay motivated when the results aren't immediately obvious? And what do you do when you inevitably slip up? The answer lies in creating a robust feedback loop. This involves consistently tracking your habits, genuinely celebrating your successes no matter how small, and knowing how to quickly adjust your course when you veer off track. A well-managed feedback loop is like a responsive navigation system for your habit journey, keeping you informed, engaged, and headed towards your summit. What gets measured gets managed and improved. There's a well-known management adage, what gets measured gets managed. This applies perfectly to habit formation. The simple act of tracking your habits provides several powerful benefits. Awareness. Often we're not fully conscious of how consistent or inconsistent we truly are. Tracking brings your behavior into the light. Linda, who wanted to improve her hydration, thought she was drinking enough water. It wasn't until she started tracking her daily intake with a simple checkmark system that she realized she was consistently falling short of her goal on most days. This awareness was the first step to actual improvement. Motivation. Seeing a visual record of your progress can be incredibly motivating. Each checkmark, each filled-in square on a habit tracker is a small psychological win that reinforces your commitment. It provides tangible evidence that you're putting in the effort. Data for adjustment. Tracking gives you data. If you notice you consistently miss your habit on Wednesdays, you can investigate why. Is your schedule different? Is there a recurring trigger for an old conflicting habit? This data allows you to make informed adjustments to your strategy or environment. Simple tracking methods. You don't need a complicated system. The best tracking method is one you'll actually use consistently.
Habit tracker apps. There are many excellent apps, e.g. Streaks, Habify, or TickTick, that allow you to list your habits and check them off daily. Many offer reminders and progress visualizations. Paper journals or planners. A dedicated notebook or a section in your daily planner can work just as well. Simply write down your habits, and make a check mark, X, or fill in a small box each day you complete it. Spreadsheets. A simple spreadsheet can track habits over time and even allow for basic data analysis. The key is to make tracking immediate and easy. Do it right after you complete the habit, if possible, so it becomes part of the routine itself. The don't break the chain method. One of the most famously effective and simple tracking methods is often attributed to comedian Jerry Seinfeld, who reportedly used it to maintain his daily writing habit. The method is beautifully straightforward. Get a large wall calendar that shows the entire year. For each day you successfully complete your target habit, e.g. writing jokes, exercising, meditating, put a big red X over that day. Your only job is to not break the chain. The visual power of this is immense. As the chain of X's grows longer, it becomes a source of pride and motivation. You won't want to break it because it represents your consistent effort. That unbroken chain staring back at you from the wall becomes a powerful psychological incentive to keep going, even on days you don't feel like it. It gamifies the process and leverages our natural desire for completion and aversion to breaking patterns. Celebrating small wins, fueling the fire. Tracking helps you see your progress, but it's equally important to celebrate that progress. When you complete your habit, especially in the early days or when you overcome a particular challenge, take a moment to acknowledge your success. This isn't about throwing a lavish party every day, but about consciously giving yourself positive reinforcement. Why is celebration so important?
It reinforces the habit loop. Remember the cue, craving, response, reward? Celebration acts as an immediate, positive reward, strengthening the neural pathways associated with the habit. Your brain learns, when I do this thing, something good happens, even if it's just a feeling of pride. It builds positive associations. It helps you associate the new habit with positive emotions, making you more likely to want to repeat it. It boosts motivation. Small wins create momentum and make the journey feel more enjoyable. How to celebrate effectively. Focus on intrinsic rewards. The best rewards are often intrinsic. The feeling of accomplishment, pride, increased energy, or peace of mind that comes from doing the habit itself. Take a moment to savor these feelings. Healthy extrinsic rewards. If you use extrinsic rewards, external treats, make sure they align with your overall goals and don't undermine the habit. For example, if your habit is healthy eating, don't reward a week of success with a massive junk food binge. Instead, you might reward yourself with a new cookbook, a relaxing bath, or an hour of guilt-free leisure time. Verbal affirmation. Simply saying to yourself, "Good job, I did it," or "I'm proud of myself for showing up today," can be surprisingly effective. Share your success appropriately. Telling a supportive friend or family member about a milestone you reached can provide positive social reinforcement. Ethan, who was learning to play the guitar, would send a short audio clip of a newly mastered chord progression to his encouraging sister. The key is that the reward should be timely, as close to the completion of the habit as possible, and genuinely satisfying to you. When you stumble, the art of getting back on track quickly. Let's be realistic. No matter how committed you are, there will be days when you miss your habit. Life happens. You get sick, an emergency comes up, or you simply have an off day. Perfection is not the goal. Consistency over the long haul is. The crucial skill here isn't to never fall, but to get back up quickly. A common pitfall is the "what the hell" effect. You miss one day of your diet, so you think, "Oh well, I've blown it anyway," and proceed to eat an entire pizza. This kind of all-or-nothing thinking is destructive. Instead, adopt these mindsets and strategies. The never miss twice rule. This is a powerful addendum to the don't break the chain method. Missing one day is an accident. Missing 2 days is the beginning of a new, undesirable habit.
Do everything in your power to get back on track the very next day, even if it's just the tiniest atomic start version of your habit. One missed day is a blip. A string of missed days erodes your progress. Self-compassion versus self-criticism. When you slip up, resist the urge to beat yourself up. Negative self-talk is demotivating and often leads to giving up entirely. Instead, practice self-compassion. Acknowledge the slip-up without judgment. Remind yourself that you're human. Ask yourself, what can I learn from this? And then recommit to your goal for the next opportunity. Treat yourself with the same kindness and understanding you'd offer a friend in a similar situation. Analyze, don't agonize. Instead of dwelling on the failure, briefly analyze why you missed. Was it a problem with your environment? Was your cue not strong enough? Was the habit still too big? Use the miss as data to refine your approach. Getting back on track quickly is a skill in itself, and it's one of the most important for long-term habit sustainability. Review and adjust. Habits aren't set in stone. Finally, understand that your habits aren't meant to be rigid, unchangeable rules. Life evolves. Your goals may shift, and what worked for you 6 months ago might not be optimal today. Periodically, as in monthly or quarterly, take some time to review your habits. Are they still serving your current goals? Do they still feel challenging and engaging, or have they become too easy or stale? If too easy, maybe it's time to level up. Are there any new obstacles or changes in your life that require an adjustment to your routine? Is there a better way to do this habit now that you have more experience? Be flexible and willing to adapt. The aim is to create a system of habits that supports your ongoing growth and well-being, and systems often require tweaking and maintenance. This is not a sign of failure, but a sign of intelligent adaptation. By actively engaging with this feedback loop, tracking your progress, celebrating your wins, learning from your stumbles, and periodically reviewing your approach, you transform habit building from a passive hope into an active, dynamic process of continual improvement. You become a more skilled navigator of your own journey toward the mountains you seek to move. Chapter 6, Summary. This chapter focused on the critical role of the feedback loop in habit formation and maintenance. We established that what gets measured gets managed, highlighting how tracking habits, using simple methods like apps, journals, or the don't break the chain technique, increases awareness, boosts motivation, and provides data for improvement. Crucially, we emphasize the power of celebrating small wins to reinforce positive behaviors and build positive associations with new habits, using both intrinsic and healthy extrinsic rewards. The chapter also provided strategies for handling inevitable setbacks, most notably the never miss twice rule and the importance of self-compassion over self-criticism to get back on track quickly. Finally, we underscored the need to periodically review and adjust habits, ensuring they remain aligned with evolving goals and life circumstances, making habit development a dynamic process of continual improvement.
Chapter 7. Advanced Habit Strategies, Stacking, Temptation Bundling, and Pre-Commitment Devices. By now, you have a solid understanding of the fundamentals. You know your mountain, you've chosen a Keystone habit, you're starting small, designing your environment, and using feedback to stay on course. These are the bedrock principles. Now, let's explore some more advanced strategies that can supercharge your habit-building efforts, making new routines even easier to adopt and more resilient to disruption. These techniques leverage psychological principles to seamlessly integrate new habits into your life, or make challenging ones more appealing. We'll focus on 3 powerful methods: habit stacking, temptation bundling, and pre-commitment devices, along with a bonus strategy, if-then planning. Habit stacking, anchoring new habits to old ones. One of the easiest ways to build a new habit is to piggyback it onto an existing one. This is the core idea behind habit stacking, a concept popularized by B.J. Fogg as anchoring, and also highlighted by James Clear. Instead of trying to remember a brand new habit out of the blue, you link it to a routine that's already firmly established in your daily life. The existing habit becomes the cue for the new one. The formula is simple. After, before, current habit, I will do, new habit. The key is to choose a current habit that is already deeply ingrained and occurs with reliable frequency. Examples. Morning routine stack. After I pour my morning cup of coffee, I will meditate for 2 minutes. Coffee is the anchor. After I finish my meditation, I will write 1 sentence in my journal. Meditation is now the anchor. Robert, whom we met earlier wanting to study more, could use, after I make my bed, existing habit, I will open my textbook to the current chapter, new tiny habit. Evening routine stack. After I brush my teeth at night, I will floss 1 tooth. Brushing teeth is the anchor. After I get into bed, I will read 1 page of a book. Getting into bed is now the anchor. Workday stack. Before I check my email in the morning, I will identify my top 3 priorities for the day. Checking email, an often automatic habit, becomes the trigger for prioritizing. After I finish my lunch, I will go for a 5-minute walk. Finishing lunch is the anchor. Why habit stacking works? Leverages existing pathways. Your brain already has strong neural pathways for your current habits. By linking the new habit to an existing one, you're essentially using those established routes. Clear cue. The existing habit serves as a very specific and reliable cue, eliminating the guesswork of when to do the new habit. Builds momentum. You can create stacks or chains of good habits where one flows naturally into the next, building positive momentum throughout your day. Tips for effective habit stacking. Be specific. After I finish dinner is better than sometime in the evening. The more precise the anchor habit and the timing, the better. Match the location or context. Try to stack habits that make sense in the same context. Stacking do 10 push-ups after flushing the toilet might work for some, as the bathroom is a consistent location visited multiple times. Keep it appropriately sized. Especially when starting, ensure the new habit part of your stack is still small and manageable. Remember the 2-minute rule. Temptation bundling. Pairing wants with needs. Let's be honest, some beneficial habits aren't inherently thrilling. Eating more vegetables, doing chores, or tackling a difficult work task might not spark immediate joy. Temptation bundling is a brilliant strategy for making these less appealing but necessary habits more attractive by pairing them with an activity you genuinely enjoy and look forward to, something you want to do. The formula here is, I will only habit I enjoy, want to do, while I habit I need to do or am avoiding. Or, after I habit I need to do or am avoiding, I will get to habit I enjoy or want to do. Examples. Exercise plus entertainment. I will only listen to my favorite true crime podcast while I'm exercising on the treadmill. Or I will only watch episodes of my favorite Netflix show while I'm cycling on the stationary bike. Maria, from Chapter 4, Building Her Meditation Habit, could bundle, after I complete my 10-minute meditation, I will allow myself 15 minutes to scroll Instagram guilt-free. Chores plus pleasure. I will only catch up on celebrity gossip websites while I'm folding laundry. Or I will only drink my fancy, expensive coffee while I'm doing my weekly meal prep. Work or study plus enjoyment. I will only get a pedicure after I've completed my monthly financial review. Or I will only go out with friends on Friday night if I've completed all my study goals for the week.
Why temptation bundling works. Increases attractiveness. It associates the less desirable habit with an immediate pleasurable reward, making it more appealing and increasing the likelihood you'll do it. Leverages anticipation. You start to look forward to the need-to-do habit because it means you also get to do the want-to-do habit. Reduces procrastination. It can help overcome the initial resistance to tasks you typically avoid. Tips for effective temptation bundling. Be strict with the only. The want activity should be exclusively linked to the need activity for the strategy to be most effective. If you listen to your favorite podcast anytime, it won't be a special motivator for exercise. Choose compatible pairings. Ensure the 2 activities can reasonably be done together or in close succession. Ensure the want is genuinely desirable. The temptation has to be strong enough to pull you through the less appealing task. Pre-commitment devices, locking in future you.
We often have good intentions for our future selves. Future me will definitely wake up early and go to the gym. However, when the future becomes the present, present me might feel tired, unmotivated, or tempted by immediate gratification, leading to choices that sabotage those good intentions. Pre-commitment devices are strategies you set up in the present to make it harder for your future self to bail on a desired habit or give in to an undesired one. You're essentially making a pact with yourself and creating consequences or barriers that lock in your intended behavior. Examples: financial commitments, signing up and paying for a non-refundable series of fitness classes. Olivia, wanting to improve her flexibility and reduce stress, prepays for a 10-class yoga pass. The financial commitment makes her much more likely to attend. Using an app like Stick, where you commit to a goal and put money on the line, which goes to a charity or even an anti-charity you dislike if you fail. Social commitments, scheduling a workout with a friend. You're less likely to skip if you know someone is counting on you. Publicly announcing your goal, for example on social media or to a group of colleagues, can create a sense of accountability. Environmental setup as a form of pre-commitment. Laying out your workout clothes the night before. Preparing healthy meals or snacks in advance for the week. Deleting distracting apps from your phone before a period of focused work. Removing temptations in advance. Giving your partner the bag of cookies to hide if you know you'll be tempted later. Leaving your credit card at home when you go to the mall if you're trying to curb impulse spending. Making undesirable actions more difficult. Setting up automatic bill payments to ensure you never miss one. Pre-committing to financial responsibility. Putting your alarm clock across the room so you have to physically get out of bed to turn it off. Pre-committing to not hitting snooze. Why pre-commitment works. Bridges the intention-action gap. It helps align your present actions with your future goals by making good choices easier and bad choices harder in the moment of decision. Outsmarts present bias. It acknowledges our tendency to prioritize immediate gratification over long-term benefits and put systems in place to counteract it. Increases accountability. Whether to yourself, financially, or socially, it raises the stakes. The if-then plan. Implementation intentions. Preparing for obstacles. Life is unpredictable. Even with the best habits and intentions, obstacles will arise. An if-then plan, also known as an implementation intention, helps you prepare for these challenges by deciding in advance how you will respond when they occur. This proactive planning significantly increases your chances of staying on track. The formula is, if obstacle or trigger X occurs, then I will pre-planned response Y. Examples. For an exercise habit, if it's raining and I can't go for my usual outdoor run, then I will do a 20-minute indoor workout video. If I get a last-minute meeting request during my scheduled gym time, then I will go to the gym immediately after work. Instead, for a healthy eating habit, if I go to a party and there are tempting desserts, then I will allow myself one small portion and then drink a large glass of water. If I'm feeling stressed and craving junk food, then I will first do 5 minutes of deep breathing exercises. For a writing habit, if I feel stuck and can't think of what to write, then I will set a timer for 10 minutes and just free write whatever comes to mind without judgment. Why if-then plans work? Automates problem solving. You've already done the hard work of deciding how to respond, so when the obstacle appears, you don't have to rely on in-the-moment willpower or decision-making, which might be compromised. Reduces uncertainty. It provides a clear path forward when things don't go as planned.
Increases resilience. It makes your habits more robust and less likely to be derailed by common challenges. By incorporating these advanced strategies, habit stacking to seamlessly integrate new routines, temptation bundling to make challenging tasks more appealing, pre-commitment devices to lock in your future good behavior, and if-then plans to navigate obstacles, you add powerful layers of support to your habit-building architecture. These aren't just tricks, they are psychologically sound methods for working smarter, not just harder, on your journey to moving mountains. Chapter 7 Summary. This chapter explored advanced techniques to supercharge your habit-building efforts and make your new routines more robust. We detailed habit stacking, a method of anchoring a new habit to an existing one using the formula after, before, current habit, I will, new habit, leveraging established neural pathways and clear cues. Next, we covered temptation bundling, which increases the appeal of necessary but less enjoyable habits by pairing them with activities you genuinely desire, following the principle, I will only, enjoyable habit, while I, necessary habit. We then discussed pre-commitment devices, strategies set up in the present like financial or social commitments or environmental setups to make it harder for your future self to abandon good intentions. Finally, we introduced if-then plans or implementation intentions, which involve proactively deciding how you'll respond to anticipated obstacles, like if obstacle, then I will response, thereby automating problem solving and increasing resilience. These strategies provide sophisticated ways to integrate and protect your habits.
Chapter 8. The Identity Shift. Becoming the person who moves mountains. We've covered a lot of ground on the how-to of building habits, understanding the mechanics, setting goals, starting small, designing your environment, tracking progress, and employing advanced strategies. These are all vital tools. But there's a deeper, more transformative layer to lasting habit change, one that moves beyond mere behavior modification to touch the very core of who you are. This is the identity shift. Ultimately, the most effective way to change your habits is to change the way you see yourself. True, sustainable change isn't just about doing things differently. It's about becoming a different kind of person. The kind of person for whom those desired behaviors are a natural expression of who they are. This chapter is about understanding how your habits shape your identity, and conversely, how consciously shaping your desired identity can make your habits stick for a lifetime. Your habits shape your identity, and vice versa. Think about it. How do you know who you are? In large part, your sense of self, your identity, is built upon your repeated actions and beliefs. If you consistently go to the gym, you start to see yourself as a person who exercises, or an athletic person. If you regularly set aside time to read and learn, you identify as a reader or a lifelong learner. If you make your bed every morning, you might subtly reinforce an identity as an organized person or someone who starts the day right. Conversely, if you frequently procrastinate, you might label yourself a procrastinator. If you often overspend, you might see yourself as bad with money. James Clear puts it powerfully. Every action you take is a vote for the type of person you wish to become. Each time you perform a habit, you are casting a vote for a particular identity. 1 or 2 votes might not change an election, but as the votes accumulate, the evidence mounts and your self-image begins to shift. This is a two-way street. Your habits provide evidence of your identity shapes your motivation to maintain those habits. When your habits and your identity are aligned, change becomes much more effortless. You're no longer trying to force a behavior that feels foreign. You're simply acting in accordance with who you believe you are. Focus on who you want to be, not just what you want to achieve. Many people approach habit change with an outcome-based focus. They set goals like, I want to lose 30 pounds, or I want to write a novel, or I want to run a marathon. These are fine as targets, but if your focus remains solely on the outcome, motivation can wane, especially if results are slow to appear or if you encounter setbacks. And what happens after you achieve the outcome? Does the habit disappear? A more powerful approach is to cultivate identity-based habits. This means focusing first on who you wish to become, and then choosing habits that align with and reinforce that desired identity. Instead of, I want to lose 30 pounds, outcome, think, I want to become the type of person who is healthy and energetic, identity. What does a healthy and energetic person do? They consistently eat nutritious foods, move their body regularly, prioritize sleep, manage stress, etc. These become the habits you build. Instead of, I want to write a novel, outcome, think, I want to become a writer, identity. What does a writer do? They write regularly, they read widely, they seek feedback, they revise. Let's take Daniel. His initial goal was to run a marathon, outcome. He struggled with motivation for individual training runs. When he shifted his focus to, I want to become a runner, identity, His mindset changed. He started asking, what does a runner do today? A runner shows up for their training, even if it's a short run. A runner fuels their body properly. A runner stretches and recovers. By embracing the identity of a runner, the daily habits of a runner felt more natural and meaningful, not just a means to a distant outcome. When your habits are an expression of your identity, they are intrinsically motivating. You do them not just to get a result, but because that's who you are. Small wins as evidence for your new identity. This is where the power of starting small, Chapter 4, connects deeply with identity. Each time you perform your tiny habit, you are collecting a small piece of evidence, a vote that you are indeed becoming that person. Reading one page doesn't make you a scholar overnight, but it's a vote for being a reader. Meditating for 2 minutes doesn't instantly make you a Zen master, but it's a vote for being a calm and centered person. Putting on your running shoes, even if you only walk to the end of the driveway, is a vote for being an active person. These small wins might seem insignificant in isolation, but they accumulate. Over time, the weight of evidence shifts.
You start to believe you are that type of person because you have tangible proof from your own actions. This internal belief then makes it easier and more natural to continue performing the habits associated with that identity. It creates an upward spiral. Your actions reinforce your identity, and your identity reinforces your actions. Letting go of old identities that no longer serve you. Sometimes the biggest barrier to adopting new habits and a new identity isn't the difficulty of the new behavior, but the grip of an old, limiting identity. We all have stories we tell ourselves about who we are, based on past experiences or long-held beliefs. I'm just not a morning person. I've always been disorganized. I'm too old to learn new things. I'm not the athletic type. These self-labels can become self-fulfilling prophecies. If you deeply believe you're not a morning person, trying to build a habit of waking up early will feel like an uphill battle against your very nature. Part of the identity shift process involves consciously examining these old stories and beliefs. Acknowledge them. Recognize the narratives you hold about yourself. Question them. Are they truly fixed realities, or are they interpretations based on past behaviors that you can change? Where did this belief come from? Reframe them. Start to articulate the new identity you want to embrace. Instead of, I'm not a morning person, try, I am becoming someone who enjoys the peace and productivity of early mornings. Gather new evidence. Use your tiny habits to actively collect proof that contradicts the old identity and supports the new one. This isn't always easy. Old identities can be comfortable and familiar, even if they're limiting. It requires courage to let go of a part of who you've always been to make space for who you want to become. The upward spiral. Positive identity fuels positive habits. As your new identity begins to take root, something wonderful happens. Choosing good habits becomes easier, more automatic, and more aligned with your sense of self. It requires less willpower because you're not fighting against your perceived nature. You're acting in accordance with it. A healthy person doesn't have to force themselves to choose a salad. It's a natural choice that aligns with who they are. A writer doesn't see daily writing as a chore, most of the time. It's an essential part of their being. A financially responsible person doesn't struggle as much to save money. It's a reflection of their identity. When you ask yourself, what would a desired identity person do in this situation? The answer often becomes clear and provides a powerful guide for your actions. Your identity becomes your internal compass, pointing you towards behaviors that reinforce who you are becoming. This is the ultimate goal of Habits That Move Mountains, not just to help you achieve specific outcomes, but to empower you to become the person who is capable of moving those mountains and any future mountains that may appear on your path. It's about building an identity grounded in growth, resilience, and positive action, where your habits are a joyful expression of your best self. Chapter 8 Summary. This chapter revealed the profound connection between habits and identity, arguing that the most effective path to lasting change is to shift your self-perception. We explored the idea that every action taken is a vote
for the type of person you wish to become, and these accumulated votes gradually shaped your identity. The focus advocated was on cultivating identity-aligned habits. I am a healthy person, rather than purely outcome-based ones. I want to lose 30 pounds, as identity-aligned behaviors are more intrinsically motivating and sustainable. Small, consistent wins from tiny habits serve as crucial evidence reinforcing this new, desired identity. The chapter also addressed the importance of consciously letting go of old, limiting identities that no longer serve you and actively reframing your self-narrative. Ultimately, as your positive identity strengthens, choosing and maintaining good habits becomes more natural and effortless, creating an upward spiral where your identity fuels your habits and your habits solidify your identity, empowering you to become the person capable of achieving your most ambitious goals.
Chapter 9. Habit Maintenance, Keeping Your Mountains Moved for a Lifetime. You've journeyed far. You've identified your mountains, laid a foundation of keystone habits, mastered the art of the atomic start, sculpted your environment, embraced the feedback loop, employed advanced strategies, and, most profoundly, begun to shift your very identity. You're no longer just doing new things, you're becoming the person who embodies these positive changes. This is a monumental achievement. But the journey doesn't end when a habit becomes automatic or a goal is reached. Just as a physical mountain requires ongoing respect for its terrain and weather, your moved mountains, your established habits and transformed self require mindful maintenance to ensure they remain a stable and enduring part of your life's landscape. This chapter is about navigating the realities of long-term habit adherence, overcoming common challenges, and finding sustainable joy in your new way of being. The plateau of latent potential, when results aren't immediate or seen to vanish. One of the most common and demotivating experiences in any long-term endeavor, including habit maintenance, is the plateau of latent potential. This term, also highlighted by James Clear, describes the frustrating gap between the effort you're putting in and the results you're seeing. You might be diligently practicing your new habits, but the breakthrough you expect, the weight loss, the business success, the fluency in a new language, seems stubbornly out of reach, or perhaps progress seems to have stalled after initial gains. This is often referred to as the valley of disappointment. It's the period where your efforts are compounding beneath the surface, like bamboo growing extensive root systems for years before finally shooting up dramatically. Many people give up during this phase, mistakenly believing their efforts aren't working. Understanding and navigating the plateau of latent potential. Trust the process. If you are consistently applying the principles we've discussed, results are accumulating, even if they're not yet visible. Have faith in the power of compounding. Focus on the system, not just the goal. Remind yourself that you're building a system for long-term success, an identity. The daily execution of your habits is the win, regardless of immediate external validation. Revisit your why. Connect back to your core values and the identity you're cultivating. This intrinsic motivation can carry you through periods where external results are slow. Look for non-obvious progress. Are there other, perhaps more subtle benefits you're experiencing? Improved energy? Better mood? Increased self-confidence? Acknowledge these. Patience is a virtue and a strategy. Significant, lasting change rarely happens overnight. Embrace patience as part of the journey. The plateau of latent potential is a test of perseverance. Those who understand it and persist through it are the ones who ultimately experience the breakthroughs. Avoiding habit stagnation. The need for review and evolution. Once a habit becomes automatic, there's a risk of complacency. What worked brilliantly to get you started might not be what you need to continue growing or to maintain engagement over years. Habits can become stale if not periodically reviewed and refreshed. Regular assessment.
Just as we discussed in Chapter 6, schedule periodic check-ins, example quarterly, annually, or after major life changes. Ask yourself, is this habit still serving its intended purpose? Is it aligned with my current values and goals, which may have evolved? Is it still challenging enough to be engaging, or has it become too easy, leading to boredom or mindless execution? Could I optimize this habit for greater impact or enjoyment? The concept of deliberate practice applied to habits. Deliberate practice isn't just for musicians or athletes. It involves not just repeating an action, but consciously trying to improve it, seeking feedback, and pushing your boundary slightly. How can you bring an element of deliberate improvement to your established habits? If you're a runner, perhaps it's working on your form or adding interval training. If you're a writer, perhaps it's experimenting with new styles or focusing on a specific craft element. If you meditate, perhaps it's trying a new technique or extending your duration slightly. Introduce novelty carefully. Sometimes a small tweak or a related new challenge can reinvigorate an old habit. If your gym routine has become monotonous, try a new class or a different type of workout machine. The goal isn't to constantly overhaul your habits, but to ensure they remain vital, effective, and aligned with your journey of lifelong growth. Dealing with life's curveballs, maintaining habits through disruption. Life is dynamic.
Illness, travel, job changes, family emergencies, even happy events like a new baby or a move. These disruptions can throw even the most ingrained habits off course. The resilience of your habits is tested during these times. Strategies for habit maintenance during disruption. Prioritize the keystone. If you can only maintain 1 or 2 habits during a chaotic period, focus on your most critical keystone habits. These will provide the most stability. The minimum viable habit. What's the absolute bare minimum version of your habit that you can do to keep the chain from breaking completely? If your normal 30-minute workout is impossible, can you do 5 minutes of stretching? If your hour of focused work is out, can you do 15 minutes? Keeping the thread alive, however thinly, is key. Flexibility and adaptation. Be prepared to adapt your habits to the new circumstances. If you're traveling, your healthy eating habits might need to focus on making the best choices available rather than perfect home-cooked meals. Give yourself grace again. Disruption is normal. Don't expect perfection. Focus on getting back to your full routine as soon as reasonably possible. The strength of your established habit foundation will make this easier. Use the disruption as a learning opportunity. Sometimes disruptions can reveal weaknesses in your system or highlight areas where your habits could be more adaptable. A strong habit system isn't brittle. It's resilient and adaptable. It can bend without breaking. The joy of mastery, finding intrinsic motivation. As you continue to practice your habits over months and years, something wonderful often happens. The source of your motivation can shift. In the beginning, you might have relied more on external rewards or the discipline of showing up. But as you gain competence and experience the inherent benefits of the habit, intrinsic motivation, the drive that comes from within, often takes over. You no longer exercise just to lose weight, but because you genuinely enjoy the feeling of movement, strength, and energy. You don't just write to finish a book, but because you find joy and fulfillment in the creative process itself. You don't just eat healthy foods out of obligation, but because you appreciate how good they make you feel and the vitality they provide. Consider Grace. When she first started learning the guitar, it was a struggle. Her fingers hurt, the chords sounded clunky, and she needed a lot of external encouragement from her teacher and the Don't Break the Chain calendar to practice. Years later, playing the guitar is one of her greatest joys. She loses herself in the music, experiments with new songs, and plays purely for the love of it, even if no one is listening. The habit has transformed into a passion, driven by the intrinsic reward of mastery and self-expression. This shift towards intrinsic motivation is a hallmark of truly ingrained, lifelong habits. The activity itself becomes its own reward. Never done, the continuous journey of growth. Perhaps the most important mindset for lifelong habit maintenance is to understand that you are never truly done. Personal growth and habit development are not destinations you arrive at, they are continuous journeys.
embrace a growth mindset. Believe that your abilities and intelligence can be developed through dedication and hard work. This mindset, coined by Carol Dweck, is crucial for navigating challenges and seeing setbacks as opportunities for learning. There will always be new mountains. As you conquer one set of challenges and integrate new habits, new aspirations and opportunities for growth will likely emerge. Your well-honed habit-building skills will be invaluable for these future endeavors. The joy is in the climbing. While reaching summits is satisfying, find joy and fulfillment in the process of striving, learning, and becoming. Living a life guided by positive, empowering habits isn't about achieving a static state of perfection. It's about engaging in an ongoing, dynamic process of becoming the best version of yourself, one intentional action at a time, for the rest of your life. Your moved mountains become the foundation from which you can survey the landscape and choose your next inspiring ascent. Chapter 9 Summary. This chapter addressed the crucial aspects of long-term habit maintenance, ensuring that your moved mountains remain stable. We discussed navigating the plateau of latent potential, the frustrating period where effort seems to outweigh visible results, emphasizing trust in the process and patience. To prevent habits from becoming stale, the importance of regular review, evolution, and applying the principles of deliberate practice was highlighted. Strategies for maintaining habits through life's inevitable disruptions included prioritizing keystone habits, using minimum viable habits, and practicing flexibility and self-grace. A significant aspect of long-term adherence is the shift towards intrinsic motivation, where the joy of mastery and the inherent benefits of the habit become the primary drivers. Finally, the chapter underscored that habit maintenance is a continuous journey of growth, not a destination, advocating for a growth mindset and embracing the ongoing process of becoming the best version of yourself, one intentional action at a time, for the rest of your life.
Your moved mountains become the foundation from which you can survey the landscape and choose your next inspiring ascent. Chapter 9 Summary. This chapter addressed the crucial aspects of long-term habit maintenance, ensuring that your moved mountains remain stable. We discussed navigating the plateau of latent potential, the frustrating period where effort seems to outweigh visible results, emphasizing trust in the process and patience. To prevent habits from becoming stale, the importance of regular review, evolution, and applying principles of deliberate practice was highlighted. Strategies for maintaining habits through life's inevitable disruptions included prioritizing keystone habits, using minimum viable habits, and practicing flexibility and self-grace. A significant aspect of long-term adherence is the shift towards intrinsic motivation, where the joy of mastery and the inherent benefits of the habit become the primary drivers. Finally, the chapter underscored that habit maintenance is a continuous journey of growth, not a destination, advocating for a growth mindset and embracing the ongoing process of becoming.
Chapter 10 Your Habit Legacy, Moving Mountains Beyond Yourself. Throughout this book, our primary focus has been on your personal journey, on building the habits that allow you to move your mountains. We've delved into the mechanics of change, the strategies for success, and the internal shifts required for lasting transformation. This individual focus is essential, for it is only by changing ourselves that we can truly begin to influence the world around us. But the power of habits doesn't end with personal achievement. The mountains you move, the person you become through this process, will inevitably create ripples that extend far beyond your own life. In this final chapter, we'll explore this outward effect, your habit legacy. We'll consider how your transformed self can inspire others, how these principles can be applied in collective settings, and how your commitment to positive habits can contribute to a larger, more meaningful impact. The ripple effect, how your habits influence others. Think back to Michael from our introduction, scrolling through his phone, feeling a vague sense of dissatisfaction. Now imagine a different Michael, one who has diligently applied the principles in this book. He's identified his mountain, perhaps it was to launch a passion project or achieve a new level of physical fitness. He's built keystone habits, started small, engineered his environment, and cultivated an identity aligned with his goals. He's more focused, energetic, and fulfilled. This transformed Michael doesn't exist in a vacuum. His family, friends, and colleagues will notice. His increased energy and positivity might make him a more engaged partner or parent. His discipline and focus at work could inspire his teammates. His commitment to his health might subtly encourage a friend to reevaluate their own habits. We influence others far more by who we are and what we consistently do than by what we say or preach. When people see authentic, positive change in someone they know, it can be a powerful catalyst for their own introspection and action. Your consistent habits, your perseverance through challenges, and the genuine positive changes in your demeanor and accomplishments become a living testament to what's possible. You become a source of quiet inspiration, not through overt instruction, but through embodied example. This is the subtle, organic start of your habit legacy. Building habits in teams and families. The principles of habit formation aren't limited to individual endeavors. They can be incredibly effective when applied to shared goals within families, teams, or communities. When a group collectively decides to build positive habits, the shared accountability and support can amplify the results. In families, Ethan and his partner Chloe decided they wanted to improve their connection and reduce evening screen time. They didn't just make a rule. They established a new shared habit, a tech-free Tuesday evening dedicated to board games, conversation, or a shared hobby. They made the cue clear, Tuesday after dinner, the environment supportive, phones put away in a basket, and the reward intrinsic, quality time and fun. Families can build habits around healthy eating, for example, a Sunday meal prep together, regular physical activity, e.g., a Saturday morning family bike ride, or even financial literacy, e.g., a monthly family budget review. In teams at work, a sales team might implement a Keystone habit of a 15-minute daily huddle to share wins, challenges, and priorities, fostering better communication and alignment. A project team could adopt a habit of a weekly retrospectives to discuss what went well, what could be improved, and what to try next, leading to continuous improvement. Leaders can model desired habits like punctuality for meetings or dedicated deep work blocks, influencing team culture. When applying habit principles in a group setting, shared why. Ensure everyone understands and buys into the purpose behind the habit. Clear cues and routines. Define the specific behaviors and when they will occur. Mutual accountability. Gently hold each other responsible and offer support. Celebrate collective wins. Acknowledge and reward group progress. By fostering positive habits within your closest circles, you're not just improving collective outcomes, you're teaching valuable life skills and creating environments where everyone is more likely to thrive. Habits for a better world, from personal peaks to societal shifts. While it might seem like a grand leap, the collective impact of individual habits can indeed contribute to addressing larger societal challenges. Many global issues, from environmental sustainability to community well-being to public health, have their roots in our collective daily behavior.
Sustainability. Individual habits like reducing waste, composting, or using reusable bags, conserving energy like turning off lights or choosing efficient appliances, or opting for sustainable transportation like cycling or public transit might seem small. But when adopted by millions, they create a significant positive impact on the environment. Community engagement. Habits of volunteering regularly, supporting local businesses, or simply being a kind and engaged neighbor contribute to stronger, more vibrant communities. Health and wellness. As more individuals adopt habits that promote physical and mental well-being, it can lead to a healthier population overall, potentially reducing strain on healthcare systems and fostering a more energetic and productive society. The point isn't that your individual habit of recycling will single-handedly save the planet, but your commitment, multiplied by the commitments of others who are also striving to live more consciously, creates a groundswell of change. Your actions are a vote, not just for the person you want to become, but also for the kind of world you want to live in. Mentoring and sharing your wisdom. As you become more adept at building and maintaining positive habits, you'll accumulate a wealth of practical wisdom. One of the most fulfilling ways to extend your habit legacy is to share what you've learned with others who are embarking on their own journeys of change.
This doesn't mean becoming an unsolicited advice giver. It means being open to sharing your experiences when asked, offering encouragement and support to those who are struggling, perhaps formally or informally mentoring someone who is trying to achieve a goal you've already conquered, pointing people towards helpful resources, like this book perhaps. The act of teaching or guiding others not only helps them, but also reinforces your own understanding and commitment. There's a profound satisfaction in helping someone else unlock their potential and begin to move their own mountains. Your mountains, your legacy. As we conclude this journey together, take a moment to reflect. The mountains you choose to move, the habits you cultivate to get there, and the person you become in the process, these are the building blocks of your legacy. It's not just about the grand achievements that might make headlines. Your legacy also lives in the daily consistencies, the quiet acts of discipline, the resilience in the face of setbacks, and the positive influence you have on the people whose lives you touch, directly or indirectly. Living a life aligned with your deepest values, driven by positive, empowering habits, is a powerful statement. It's a testament to the human capacity for growth and transformation. The tools and strategies in this book are designed to help you not just achieve temporary fixes, but to build a framework for a more intentional, fulfilling, and impactful life. A life where you are continually capable of moving mountains, both for yourself and in doing so, inspiring a ripple of change around you. The world needs more people who are actively engaged in becoming their best selves. People who understand that small, consistent actions can indeed lead to monumental results. Your mountain is waiting. Your legacy starts now.
Chapter 10 Summary. This final chapter expanded our perspective from personal transformation to the broader habit legacy that positive changes can create. We explored the powerful ripple effect where an individual's transformed self and consistent positive habits can inspire family, friends, and colleagues through embodied example rather than explicit instruction. The chapter highlighted how habit-building principles can be effectively applied in collective settings like families and teams to achieve shared goals and foster supportive environments. Furthermore, it touched upon how the aggregation of individual good habits, such as related to sustainability or community engagement, can contribute to addressing larger societal challenges, making individual actions a vote for a better world. Finally, the importance of mentoring and sharing one's habit-building wisdom was emphasized as a fulfilling way to extend positive influence. The overarching message was that the mountains you move and the person you become create a lasting legacy of impact, both personal and communal.
Conclusion. Your mountain is waiting. Embrace the climb. We've journeyed together through the landscape of habit change, from understanding the invisible architecture that shapes your days to identifying the specific mountains that call to your spirit. We've explored the art of starting small, the science of environmental design, the power of feedback, and the profound connection between your habits and your identity. You now possess a comprehensive toolkit, a roadmap, and hopefully a renewed sense of what's possible. The core message of Habits That Move Mountains is deceptively simple, yet profoundly transformative. You are capable of extraordinary change, and that change is built not upon grand, heroic gestures, but on the steady, consistent accumulation of small, intentional actions. Let's briefly revisit the key principles that will serve as your compass on this ongoing climb. The power of small, consistent actions. Forget all-or-nothing overhauls. Real, lasting change comes from tiny, atomic habits practiced consistently over time. Each small step, repeated, carves the path up your mountain. Understanding the habit loop. Cue to craving to response to reward. Knowing how habits are formed is the first step to consciously reshaping them to serve your goals. Starting small and designing for success. The 2-minute rule. Keystone habits, habit stacking, and temptation bundling are all strategies to make good habits easier to start and stick with. The crucial role of environment and feedback.
Your surroundings and the systems you use to track and celebrate progress are powerful allies in making good choices the path of least resistance. The identity shift. The most profound change occurs when your habits become an expression of who you are, when you transform into the type of person for whom these positive behaviors are natural. Perseverance and adaptability. Plateaus, setbacks, and life's curveballs are inevitable. The key is to never miss twice, practice self-compassion, and adapt your approach as needed. You now hold the blueprints. You understand that the unmoved boulder Michael felt in our opening scenario wasn't an immovable object, but a challenge that could be broken down, addressed pebble by pebble through the strategic application of habit. The journey, not just the summit. As you stand at the foot of your own personal mountain, whether it's a career ambition, a health transformation, a creative endeavor, or a desire for deeper personal growth, remember that the journey itself holds immense value. The process of building new habits, of overcoming internal resistance, of learning from your stumbles and celebrating your wins, this is where true growth happens. The person you become while climbing, more disciplined, more resilient, more self-aware, more aligned with your values, is arguably as important, if not more so, than reaching any single peak. Each habit you successfully cultivate isn't just a task checked off a list. It's a new layer of strength and capability added to your character. These are the qualities that will serve you not just on this particular mountain, but on all the future ascents life will offer. A call to action. Take your first tiny step today. Knowledge is powerful, but knowledge combined with action is transformative. This book is not meant to be a passive read filed away on a shelf. It's a manual for active engagement with your own life. So, I invite you right now, before you close these pages or move on to your next task, to make a commitment. Choose one small habit, just one. Perhaps it's a keystone habit you identified, or a tiny 2-minute action related to a goal that excites you. Will you lay out your workout clothes before bed tonight? Will you write one sentence towards that book idea? Will you download that meditation app and try the shortest guided session? Will you put a water bottle on your desk? Don't wait for the perfect moment, for Monday morning for the first of the month. The perfect moment is now. Take that first infinitesimally small step. Anchor it, track it, celebrate it. You have the tools, you have the knowledge, you have the innate human capacity for growth. Final words of encouragement and empowerment. The path to moving mountains may sometimes feel steep, and there will be days when the summit seems impossibly distant, but remember the power you hold within you, the power of consistent, intentional choice. You are the architect of your habits, and therefore the architect of your life. Your mountain is waiting. It may be challenging, it may test you, but it is not insurmountable. Embrace the climb, one small, deliberate step at a time. The view from the top and the person you become along the way will be worth every bit of the effort. You are capable. You are ready. Now go move your mountains.